This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
The lesson learned is do not be late to the Transportation Policy Board. Goodness gracious. Okay, I guess, is my mic on?
Mike is now.
Okay, all right. I've got 9:32, we'll call this regular meeting of the KTMPO Transportation Policy Board order this time. No, you do that form, is that correct? Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda is the opportunity for public comment. Do we have anyone in person that would like to address the policy board this morning? Seeing anyone, is there anyone that's signed up online that would like to address the policy board?
We have 5 participants online, but no comments.
Okay, very good, thank you. Next item 3 on the agenda is an action item regarding the approval of the minutes from the March 19th meeting. Those should be on page 7 through 11 of your packet that went out. Ryan?
I don't have any real comments on this. This is just a regular action item taken monthly by the policy board. Unless there are revisions or edits needed to the minutes, we're good to take action.
Any comments, questions, concerns, corrections from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
We've got a motion, motion and a second. Any further discussion on item number 3, concerning the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 4 is discussion and action item regarding the approval of resolution 2025-08, the transportation improvement kit, and the 2050 MTP for projects. Oh, I'm sorry. March 3 and 4, or 4 and 5. Anyway, that's what happens when you show up late. Transportation policy. Okay. Item number 4 is regarding the approval of resolution 2025-08, recognizing May as National Bike Month. Callie.
All right, so this is a resolution that we do every year, and it is a national thing where we recognize May as National Bike Month, and it's to help promote like biking and walking and forms of active transportation. We've got a couple of different days that there will be for National Bike Month. This one is going to be May 3rd, and that is the Safe Kids Day and Bike Rodeo, and that will be at the McLean's Children's Baylor Scott White Hospital. And so that's where the kids come and they give them bikes, correct, and helmets and all that. So it's promoting kids to be able to ride their bikes. And then the second day would be the Bike to School Day. And then there's the May 7th Bike and Roll to School Day. And then nationally recognized is May 12th through 18th, the Bike to Work Week. And then in Nolanville on May 21st, there will be a ride of silence. And the ride of silence is to recognize those who have been killed during when they were riding their bikes. So it's in honor of them, and they're going to be hosting that this year in Nolanville on May 21st. And then on May 16th is Bike to Work Day. And so in your packet, there's a resolution that would be supporting National Bike Month for the region, as for May, it's National Bike Month.
Thank you. And I do believe that the advisory council has recommended the approval of this resolution as well. I'll open the floor to any discussion, comments, or concerns. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-08.
So moved.
We've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 5 is discussion action item regarding the amendments to the FY 25 through 28 TIF, as well as 2050 MTP for projects. I'm going to turn this over to Kendra, and at the risk of embarrassing her, Kendra was with the City College for a number of years, and then she abandoned us. And she has recently come back, I think, in the last 3, 4, 6 months. You know, I'm at a loss for words to tell you how valuable her experience and expertise is to the region. So I just publicly want to say thank you for returning, for whatever that reason may be. And I'll turn over item number 5 to Kendra this time.
Thank you for the welcome. This item is pretty detailed. We've included some charts and details into your packet regarding these changes. The first 2 items are transportation-related projects that have received community project funding through congressional authorization. The first one is regarding T1506K for the section of I-35 from I-14 to South Loop 363. This is for the portion of preliminary engineering for also the turnaround bridges, I believe if I'm saying that correctly. So this would move that project into the TIP for the preliminary engineering phase only. The federal award would be for $15 million, and the state will cover the match portion of the $3.3 million for a total preliminary engineering cost of $18,375,000. There's also a CSJ that TxDOT uses that will be assigned to this project, and these updates will be made into the MTP as well. The next project is another Temple project, Veterans Memorial Boulevard Enhancements. This project is already in the TIP, but it will be phased out into 3 sections because they also received $5 million of the community project funding. So for that portion of $5 million to move forward on a phase 1, with the other 2 projects being put into the FY 29 and 34 long-range MTP section. The updated project limits and amounts are included in the details of the meeting packet as well. And then we have 3 requests from Hill Country Transit District regarding some changes that they need to reflect into our TIP that have already been reflected into their TIP. One is regarding the changing of services from fixed route to micro transit. The services are the same, but because of the change in service mode, the funding pots and streams are changing. So we are just doing kind of a budgetary amendment to fix that as well. The Killeen-Temple service revenue vehicles, there were funds set aside for those that Hill Country is needing to use to purchase non-revenue vehicles. That is in a second amendment that you'll see. And then the third request is regarding 3 projects for FY 2025 category 5339 and 5307 projects that should have actually been included earlier this year. Overlook administrative error were not included. So we are needing to include those so that they can request funding for those 3 projects. And then the last amendment to the TIP and MTP is regarding the performance measures that were approved earlier this year, January and February, from the safety performance measures, pavement and bridge, the transit performance measures that were approved for the PTAS and the transit asset management. Those are all required to be updated in our TIP as we approve those. So those are being included as well. There was a public comment period, and actually before I go to that, these are administrative amendments. These are not required to go out for public comments, but we include these for your review as well. These are more so let dates, and one is a funding change right there for the Nolanville Railroad Crossing Safety Project. But the rest of these administrative amendments are more so date changes. We did have a public comment period from March 31st through April the 19th, so it is ongoing for a few more days. We had one public comment period, or one public meeting on April 14th at Helping Hands, and one virtual meeting as well. And Anita is going to provide an update on the comments received so far.
Thank you so much, Kendra. At the public meeting at Helping Hands, we had 20 responses. We did a survey. Of those 20 responses, 9 rely on the HOP, and 7 say that the ADA services have improved. There were no other significant changes or comments that would warrant any changes to the amendment. There was one negative response regarding our process. And so we're trying to connect with that citizen and get that resolved. Any comments?
All right, very good. Kendra, Anita, thank you so much. I do have one question. This is kind of, I mean, just overall, under the community project funding, I believe there's been some holdback at the federal level on some of the projects that were covered under FY 25, 24, and 25. Well, either way, is that going to affect T35-36A?
So I can let Temple speak to that directly if they've heard anything different, but my understanding is this community project funding was in the fiscal year prior to them canceling the community project.
Is that your understanding as well?
Jason says yes.
Okay, I mean, I just want to, I mean, I know there's lots of dynamics that are going on, and I hate for the board to take an action, that then we come back, take another action, fix an action on an action that we didn't know about or were confused about. So,
Well, and there's a lot of community action going on around this also. This has been ongoing and, lots of changes here and there. And frankly, I'm lost. So thankfully we have Jason can still keep us all straight.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the things I do want to talk about in open discussion because we are phasing this project. The community project funding, as we're being told now, for phase 1, that's secure, and we're ready to move on that. We had a phone call from one of Victor's folks this morning about utility coordination, so we're going to get that, keep that moving. Where we've got some unpredictability right now is category 2. And that's where the phasing came in and where the funding dollars are shown for category 2, which when we went through the project call for this one last year before now, at this point, we programmed Cat 2, $10 million of Cat 2 for the Veterans Memorial for the future phases. At that time, the project wasn't broken out into phases. What we found out recently was that when the state approved the UTP, they changed the category 2 allocation that we had forecasted based on the last few years of what the category 2 was going to be available and when we could program it. So we made a decision based on an assumption. And it turns out that we don't have that category 2 that we thought we had, at least for FY 27, and that's the UTP that just came out. So we were going to program that in 27. The UTP just came out, don't have the Cat 2, so won't be able to program it in this year's version of UTP. What I'm optimistic on is that there will be some amount of category 2 available. Once we go through this next year of funding decisions, chaos, and the next UTP comes down, that if there's category 2 that is available to this region, that we can program something towards those phases that we've broken out in this entity. I don't think you want to speak to that, or if I've gotten anything garbled, please correct me.
No, you said it. I think you're right on the point. As long as the money is available and multi-work agrees, I don't see an issue with changing that up this. So.
And where I'm realistic is, we've made the decision, this board, TAC and policy board, made the decision on the funding scenarios based on how we scored the project. At the end of the day, there was an acceptance that we should put some category 2 towards Veterans Memorial. Where I'm realistic is when the UTP comes down and it turns out we can only program 5 million, 7 million instead of the 10 that was originally anticipated. We'll take what we can get. And I steal that quote from Brent, that she said the same thing when we did the outer loop a few years ago to try to get some Cat 7 and work out, the art of what's possible. She said, I'll take what you can give me and we'll figure out how to fund the rest or we'll phase it down. So that's still our position. If the category 2 changes in the future based on what, the state has available, we'll just keep working with that.
And I'm probably stating the obvious, but I mean, Jason makes a great point that for all the projects we've got in the TIP, the MTP, I think it's advisable that all of our entities take a look at those and see if they can be phased or scaled, because we're dealing with a very unique, I think, is the way I would describe it, federal governmental entity right now. And so more so than any time that I can remember, there's a lot of uncertainties. I'm not saying that funding is not going to be available, but funding amounts that we have anticipated in the past may not come to fruition. So it would probably be advisable, I think, for everyone to take a look at what their project list is and start wargaming some alternatives to just the straight funding that we've got. So Jason, thank you for those comments, and Mayor as well. Any further discussion on item number 5 as it's been presented and discussed?
I have one clarification from Kendra, I guess. In the TIP sheet, it shows 18,750,000. Is there a- No, I was,
Okay.
for us, is this supposed to be 18,375,000 or 18,000,700,000?
375.
Well, we need to make a change to that school sheet.
We should administratively make that change right now.
So for the TechSot project, there would be a change to the tip sheet that's been presented from 18,750,000 to 18,375,000. And then Kendra had another clarifying question for the Temple project, correct?
Jason, you mentioned 2027. The tip sheet says 2026. Is phase 1 planned to be?
Phase 1 is 26.
26,
Yeah,
okay.
that's correct. In the perfect world, we'll be able to bring phase 2 immediately afterwards, but we do not live in a perfect world.
That was the only change I saw that needed to be made. That's the right amount. We just needed to update this tip sheet to reflect that. We had 18,750 as the total.
Okay, so with the 2 administrative corrections, the 18,370,000. One second.
It should be 750.
It should be-
The tip is correct. It's the chart explaining the change that was not correct. The tip is correct, yes.
So no changes. No changes.
Well, there's no change, and we've got dates correct on the let date for those. Okay. Any further discussion, comments, or concerns under item number 5 regarding TIF and the MPP? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those changes, those amendments as presented. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion under item number 5? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 6 is a discussion and action item regarding the approval of the draft 2026-2027 UPWP to be sent to federal highways, and that's under pages 68 through 69 of your packet. Turn that over to Brian.
Thank you, Judge. We've presented this at the TAC and Policy Board meetings for the past few months. As everybody, just to bring everybody up to speed, this is our 2-year internal budgeting document. We base all of the financial information in the UPWP on estimates and projections. And then we submit that information to the TAC and Policy Board for approval, send it to Federal Highway, or TxDOT and Federal Highways, they approve it, and they say this is the amount of money you're gonna get to spend, hopefully. So what we've done is we've drafted our UPWP. We do have copies over there, I believe. We had a couple on the table. We sent that information out. I think there are a couple more revisions needed to the narrative. But what we're asking for today is for the Policy Board to approve action for us to send the draft to TxDOT and Federal Highways. This is a draft and draft only, so that we can get any feedback from them sometime before July, and then bring it back to the Policy Board July, August timeframe for approval of the final UPWP for FY '26 and '27. So that we can have assigned, so that it can be fully executed and approved by September, by the October 1 start date of our fiscal year. With that, I'm open to any questions that anybody may have on the UPWP. Any glaring issues that anybody sees. As I'll reiterate, some of the narrative was changed for the UPWP. The draft narrative was changed to align with some of the executive orders that have been issued. We don't know which way that's going to go. We've heard nationally that Federal Highways folks are telling some folks to take out certain words. Some folks are saying leave it in. So we've edited our language. We've taken out the diversity, equity, and inclusion narrative aspects and other keywords that have been identified. And if we get any feedback on that, we'll be sure to let the board know when we bring the final back for actual approval after we receive our feedback.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the draft UPWP and the submission to the Federal Highway Administration?
So to clarify what you just said, you said you're getting feedback to not include words and other feedback to keep it in.
Correct.
So you're getting that feedback. What did you do?
We took it out.
You took it out.
We took it out so that we could be in compliance with executive orders, even though the PEAs and items like that are still in statute.
Is environment one of those words?
I don't recall the whole list.
It's not like environment, maybe like stuff about climate change, kind of,
Well,
that kind of.
I'm just, so we're a little, work with the university, and the word environment, if you talk about just the environment that something is in an environment because of whatever, let's say a corrosive environment, it's getting kicked out if it just says environment. It has nothing to do with an environmental policy. It just is describing an environment. And so I'm just saying that some of that, so I'm just, wow. So I would definitely go in the category of remove the words and use this synonyms.
Well, I would say that's kind of maybe the purpose of this particular action is to submit the draft. I mean, obviously we've got the other document that has keywords included. We'll submit one that has keywords that are excluded and let Federal Highways determine, what that is. Because, I mean,
It's hard to guess.
in theory, we could see a dozen different drafts up there, and they're going to put some red ink on every one of the dozen that we set up. So I think that's the intent of what Ryan and his staff are asking, is that this draft is approved. We send it forward so we have one unified draft for them to assess. And as they make their radical corrections, we'll come back and approve it. But all good points though.
Since I want to poke the hornet's nest, I'll make a motion that we approve the draft and the UPWP to be sent.
We've got a motion to approve the draft and to authorize consent to Federal Highways. Is there a second? And a second. Any further comments, discussions, or concerns under item number 6? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carried. Item number 7 is discussion and action item regarding KTMPO 2025 Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill Proposal Submission, covered under pages 70 through 75 of your packet. And I'll again turn that over to you.
All right, thank you, Judge. Earlier this month, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee launched a formal stakeholder portal to collect proposals for part of the 2025 Surface Transportation Reauthorization process. The deadline for submissions for this is April 30th, 2025, and we do anticipate that there will be some type of portal on the Senate side from Environment and Public Works for stakeholders to submit information for the reauthorization as well. AMPO, our national organization, has drafted priorities. I've shared those with the board before. The AMPO priorities really revolve around funding for MPOs and project prioritization. They have asked MPOs if they're comfortable with submitting information in the portal to do so. So what I'm asking in this is for the board to authorize me to submit stakeholder information for the MPO region specifically. This doesn't exclude any of you from inputting information into the portal yourselves for your jurisdictions or your programs, and we can share that portal information with you following the meeting today. But we're asking for the policy board to approve that I submit something in the portal. That documentation is included in your packet. We have also included a timeline of what the Surface Transportation Bill approval process looks like. And of course, we started late last year discussing the 2025 Surface Transportation Reauthorization. We had some conversations on Capitol Hill in May of this year, or earlier February, March of this year, when I went to the AMPO meeting in DC. And all of this is ongoing and will continue all the way through until probably September 2026 for the reauthorization. So you'll see things at different meetings for the reauthorization at board meetings through that time. But at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions. As you'll see in the information that was provided, there are a couple areas that still have highlights, and that's for us to gather additional information before submitting the priorities. One is we just need to solidify what our dollar amount is for inclusion. And then the other part that's highlighted in this is if anybody has any, or if the region collectively has projects that they would like me to include in this proposal, I can do that in the portal as well. With whatever that is, I would also need that information to be included into the letter, which is the next agenda item today for submission. That I'm happy to answer any questions on that very confusing narrative I gave.
Questions for you, Ryan, or the staff?
You're right on your proposed, concepts where there's two ideas that I think are the most important. For me, less of the high level policy, I've always been rubber for how do we pay for it? Do we have the money to build what we need? And there's two ideas that are connected here, the MPO being the direct recipients and shifting away from the discretionary funding. And in TAC, we've had some real open discussions about how much subjectivity we should have in our scoring criteria. There's always going to be some subjectivity. So if we're going to become the direct recipient, instead of having those high level labor intensive, and I say that having worked on several grants, have that discretionary authority come down to the MPO. So if we're direct recipients, that yes, it's formula based, but where there is that subjectivity, that can take place at the MPO. CAP is at the lowest level, doesn't require a ton of bureaucracy at the state or federal level. We can manage the money ourselves. We're all smart people.
I don't really have a rebuttal, if you will.
I mean, that's just my soapbox for the day, you gotta get one.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, the direct recipient is mostly for the PL dollars, so it doesn't have to go through the state. The Cat 7, 2, 9, 10, all of that would, the actual construction, that dollars would still continue to go through the state. He also did the consideration for this is not to impose direct recipient status to all MPOs across the nation. Some MPOs may not have the capacity to do that, so it would be more of a, we're shooting, or AMPO shooting for more of a opt-in, opt-out type of program for those activities, which could lead over into construction type dollars.
It sounded like a pretty good answer to me.
It took a few minutes.
I understand you got getting caught off guard, you know, something that just thrown on you at the last minute as you walk in the door or something.
Sometimes my brain shows up when it, you know, late, so a little bit late to the conversation.
I can relate to late. I can't. Okay. Sorry, I'll topic there for a minute. Any other comments, questions, or concerns considering item number 7? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025 Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill proposal. So moved. Second. We've got a motion and a second. I made the motion. Commissioner Woodson. Motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number 8 on the agenda is a discussion and action item authorizing the board chair and vice chair and/or vice chair to sign a letter supporting AMPO's legislative priorities for submission with the 2025 Surface Reauthorization Bill proposal that we just approved.
So this, as I mentioned, goes hand in hand with the previous agenda item. This is specifically for the board chair or vice chair to sign a letter of support of these initiatives to be included with the proposal. And the documentation of the letter really mirrors what's going to be submitted in the proposal.
Question, comments for the runner of the staff? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the authorization of the board chair or vice chair to sign the letter supporting the AMPO legislative priorities. Got a motion to approve?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion on item number 8? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carried. Item number 9 is a discussion item regarding the draft TxDOT KTMPO SITCOG planning agreement covered under pages 82 through 100 of your packet. And I'll turn that over to you, Ryan.
All right, we're finally into the discussion item of the agenda, so I can take my time. The draft TxDOT MPO SITCOG planning agreement is something that we sign, or the MPO SITCOG and TxDOT sign every 5 years, usually with a continuation of 1 to 2 years. We are currently nearing the end of our current agreement. So what you have included in your packet is the draft that's been sent to all MPOs. We've had 3 different meetings with TxDOT to revise some of the language that's in there because all MPOs are not the same. The whole purpose of going through this draft and meeting with the MPOs is really to get one document that will work to some level for all MPOs instead of all of us having to do our own red line and change and revision to certain aspects. As you see it now, this is the draft as we received it. We provided comments on the draft to TxDOT March 31st. We have another meeting with them next week. I'm sure we'll be discussing the draft agreement. And then this will be brought back before the policy board for action in August. But if there are any updates in the meantime, those will be shared with the board. If you see anything in the draft and you have questions about it, please feel free to ask staff. I'm happy to share or try to answer those questions or get an answer from TxDOT. There's nothing major in there that I say would trigger any alarms, but with that, this is just an update on that process. Once the board takes action to approve the agreement, then the chair will sign, as well as the SITCOG executive director and TxDOT. I'm open to any questions.
Questions or comments for Uryan or the staff concerning the Metropolitan Planning Agreement? Roll. Hearing none, we will move on to item number 10, which is again a discussion item regarding an update on the creation of the KTMPO welcome packet. Again, pages 102 through 103 in your packet, and turn that over to Kendra.
Thank you. This packet was sent out in an email version. It's not included in your paper packet, but it is a part of the email and calendar invite that you received. It's in a draft form. It's a 101 for new board members, committee members, staff, and the general public regarding the importance of MPOs, our roles, responsibilities, legislation that supports what we do and why we do. This is something that we just want a resource we want to have available for the region. And if you have any revisions or suggestions on how to improve the welcome packet, please pass those along to staff.
Thank you, Kendra. Questions, comments for Kendra, the staff concerning the welcome packet? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 11 on the agenda, which is a discussion item regarding an update on the SS4A grant, and I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you. As everybody's aware, the SS4A grant for our region is coming to a close. We're working on closeout activities. We just submitted our quarterly report to Federal Highways for reimbursement. As you'll see in the packet and on the screen, we have the amount spent is a little over $940,000. In-kind match required is $188,000. We have logged $154,000 worth of in-kind of our required $188,000. Our accompanying documentation that's required for us to actually book that in-kind is $52,000, which means we have about $102,000 of time that we've accounted for, but we don't have signed sheets by the people that participated in those events. So if you have received a DocuSign from staff, if you haven't seen a DocuSign from staff requesting that you sign for your time to be included in the SS4A, please reach out, let us know if you've seen it. Please sign it. But if you haven't seen it, it probably is getting caught up in your filters somewhere, your firewalls. As you know, and we'll keep sending this information out. The only other thing we could do really is print a bunch of these out and just like leave a stack of papers here for everybody to sign when they come in, and we'll continue to work through that process. But if you haven't seen anything, please reach out and let us know, and we can, coordinate how to get those documents to you and get them signed.
Who do you need to contact about that?
You can contact me, or you can contact Callie.
Who sent them out originally?
They come from DocuSign, probably Joanna, from Joanna Sartor. She's our office manager.
You're right. So I know I've signed a couple of these, but how often do they come out? I mean, obviously we log more time each month, so are these supposed to be coming out monthly or?
About every 3 months, we're rolling them out.
Quarterly.
probably signed that many then, but if I don't know, I guess all of us, even those of us that have signed some, I just want to make sure I haven't missed one somewhere down the line. Is there a list of folks that need?
Yeah, and
somewhere?
And we're working to get a list like that compiled from all of the emails that we've sent, because of course it leaves a status of who's signed and who hasn't. We're working to get that list so that we can coordinate with individuals. But, you know, like I said, if you haven't seen it and you should have, please just reach out and let us know. We're happy to work through that.
The DocuSign link would have expired by now.
Yes.
Right? Is it possible just to resend them now that we've had this discussion and now that everybody's aware that he's looking for them?
Yeah.
I'm like Bobby, I signed a couple, but I don't know if I'm. Me too.
We've been rolling out resending the past 2 weeks, excuse me. So they're probably coming, like the ones that have expired, we're sending those out again because you have the links. So they're either caught up, they're either on their way to you or maybe they got caught in an inbox or a spam folder or something.
So we need to look for
Juana.
Okay.
Anything else to cover under HCTD or any questions for you right now, staff? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 12, which again is a discussion item regarding public input received through March 2025. And I'll turn that over to Anita.
Thank you, Judge. The past, we have a little slide here, a pretty little graphic on it. There we go. So our public comments, we have two streams of public comments. One's going to be our outreach activity, and then the other is going to be through our websites or social media. So since 2025, we are receiving regular public comments. Safety continues to be a priority. If you look in the packet in March, we had a few safety comments, and both of those have been forwarded on to the proper jurisdictions with responses, and the citizens were pleased with those responses. I did receive one public engagement comment this morning, from Chip Howell, the Central Texas District Liaison for Senator Pete Flores, and that comment was about a constituent who has been concerns about the speed limit on Highway 195 at Chaparral Road. I asked him if he could provide a little bit more detailed information, and so I'm waiting on that. That will be included in the next comment, but he couldn't make it to the meeting, so he asked me to represent and share that comment. Oh, there's actually another slide. Here they are by jurisdictions: the City of Killeen, Bell County, and the City of Killeen, the City of Temple, and TxDOT. Any questions?
Comment, I think you were at Helping Hands for public engagement.
Yes, sir.
Is that part of this, or is that a different engagement?
That's a different engagement, but I did speak to that earlier. Sir, did you have
I'm
any
sorry.
questions? That's okay. You were just walking in when I had finished commenting. You're welcome to share if you like.
No, I just, there's a lot of Hispanics that, and most of our seeking comments is in English. We have a lot of known, green card or even citizens that are not native English speakers that we want to broaden our pool just to allow that. And then you've already addressed that.
So not that specifically. What Anita addressed was that there was somebody we weren't able to help at the Helping Hands. We are reaching out trying to get that resolved. But for future instances, if we're aware that there could be a need for some type of translation, then we can try to accommodate that. I think we just weren't aware of how that would turn out. It's when you get into the translation, it can get kind of crazy because we can't carry around 12 interpreters with us, because of all the different languages. But if people reach out and say, hey, we have a high demographic of this that are going to be present, and we're happy to try to resolve. So
I think those places like that, that's not the only one. So there's several areas. Many of them have interpreters there that we just, I guess, just have to engage with them.
Yeah.
Well, If I could just speak to that, sir, in the future, I will raise my awareness on the need for the Spanish interpreters and even put those surveys in Spanish. With that particular individual, I was trying to process if that was her need, if she needed that in Spanish, and we didn't really have enough time to talk it through, because I was really trying to get it resolved. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns for Anita or the staff regarding public input? Hearing none, member comments? Who's going to cut you out?
Well, that would have been fine.
Item 13, director's update, turn it over to you, Ryan.
So I don't have a whole lot for the director's update this time. The meetings are, the upcoming meetings are in your packet and on your screen. Those meetings are held here at 9:30 at the SICOG offices. The air quality readings were 60 and 61 parts per billion. Most of the other stuff that I would normally talk about would be legislative. And we discussed that earlier with the two actions for the reauthorization.
Questions, comments for you, Ryan, and staff, or the staff under director's updates? Hearing none, we'll move on to members' comments. Comments from the board.
Judge, less of a comment, just a heads up for Victor. Been getting a lot of phone calls lately, either just general calls from the public or discussion. We've been going through some pre-development meetings, some discussion. Well, what's happened with I-35? Should I invest in my business? You guys are going to buy me out. So I don't expect an answer today, but just know that we're getting a lot of inquiries about what's coming next for the I-35 and 514 expansion.
Yeah, so we just got the preliminary alignment for that from the consultant, and next month we're having an elected officials meeting, school meeting, just so we can get some feedback from the city and stuff. Take that feedback, revise the alignment, and then the next public meeting should be in the fall. So that's when we'll come up and say, this is where the alignment's going to go. Here's those right on the line. Or you get an impact. So,
Looking forward to seeing that.
What's the anticipated start date for construction?
if we can get it fully funded and it goes to a design build option, it'll be probably 2030 when we start.
Is that the preference, is design build?
I would like to do it. Yeah, it's a project to do it. If we go design bid build, you're probably gonna add another 3 years on top of that to go through the design process.
That traffic backing up.
Yeah, it's.
Everybody does, right? It's a lot, Victor. Thank y'all for that. I know that's a lot of work. We appreciate it.
Any other comments, discussion? Hearing none, I've got 10 to 20, and we have concluded the business of the Transportation Policy Board. We stand adjourned. Thank you all.